I couldn't decree. I couldn't, how's he going to heal me? Because I can't perform. Now, I would have said I wasn't religious, but I was very much religious. Just didn't realize it. It was sugar coated with a look of freedom, but it was still religion because I still expected his response based on my works.
Hey guys, we are back with another episode of the Waves Ministry podcast, and we are so excited to welcome our guest today. Hey, Marsha.
Hi, good to be here.
We're so glad you're with us. Marsha Clemons is an amazing author, but I'm going to let Michael introduce her because they go way back.
Marsha and I I was a teenager. This poor lady knew me as a teenager and had to deal with the craziness. That was up in North Alabama. Her and her husband were a pastor, and I interned for them and did a lot of awesome things, but I've just known her for so long. She's since retired out of that and went into being a realtor, and she's killing it on Orange Beach. And
we saw her on HGTV.
Yeah, we did.
Just saying.
We did. we did. But it's so cool as someone who is in the same industry field as her in the marketplace, just seeing how well she's doing and how God's blessing her business. But I know her as one way, but Marsha, I would love to hear you kind of tell me a little bit more about yourself and introduce yourself a little better.
So if introducing myself today sounds, like you said, a lot different than it ever did. Now I feel like to introduce myself, I would say I'm somebody who has been through a storm of all storms and came out experiencing when God gives you beauty for ashes. Like he rebuilt our lives completely and he gave us a blank canvas. And so now we live in Orange Beach. As you said, I'm a realtor. My husband's a teacher and a coach. And we have built a life that we love so much. And, sometimes when you come out of something and then what you have are the ashes, you don't know if anything can be put back together. Right. And we couldn't have scripted it the way he's done. It's just been amazing. So, we've been together since I was in 5th grade. We've been married 38 years.
That's so cool.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Well, Marsha.
And we're old.
We like to have a little bit of fun and just ask a question because it tells us a little bit about your personality. But I know for myself, like there's certain songs that I listen to and I'm trying to like pump myself up for something. And so I just want to know for you, what is one of your favorite songs to listen to when you're trying to like pump yourself up for whatever is coming ahead?
So my answer is a little different. And so to be honest, mine is usually whatever praise song really hit me in church on Sunday for the rest of that week. That's what's coming out.
On repeat. That's
good.
I like that. I love that. So as you know, we're talking about storms, and we've all been through storms in life. And sometimes we can just kind of feel it, that like a storm is brewing. And sometimes they just kind of pop up out of nowhere. And sometimes we feel it brewing. But when have you faced a storm? And whenever you think about these storms, when have you faced a storm that there was a time that you could feel it coming? And how did you prepare for that storm, knowing that a storm was coming ahead?
Okay, so a lot of my answers will be based around just my book, and which really not the book, but my story, because I'm still so new out of it. I don't know how to talk without it being part of it, because it was 10 years of our life. So, it was a chunk. So prior to that, I would have, and did, if I saw something coming, I would be fasting, praying, decreeing, declaring, worshiping, just going for it.
Right.
And after going through what I did, when I couldn't pray, decree, declare, worship, fast, I couldn't do anything but lay there in silence for literal years, bedridden for 3 years. So what I do now to prepare is just rest in the fact that he's holding me and I'm holding on to him, and he's close. He never leaves. And I continue just straight ahead in my relationship with him and know that we'll get through it together.
Right.
That's
I
good.
don't panic like I used to, because at first,
Mhm.
when I was first bedridden, it was, how's he going to heal me? I can't do the things.
Right.
I can't get up and decree and declare. I can't know fervent prayer,
Right.
Michael. Remember
Mhm.
that? I couldn't
I'll
do
remember
those
that.
things. I couldn't decree. I could, how's he going to heal me? Because I can't perform. Now, I would have said I wasn't religious, but I was very much religious. Just didn't realize it. It was sugar coated with a look of freedom, but it was still religion, because I still expected his response eh, based on my works.
Performance.
So,
That's right.
Okay.
I think about how the Bible says, done all you could, right? Then you just stand.
mhm.
And sometimes
Yeah,
standing may not be on your own 2 feet. Sometimes it may be on your back or on your knees.
Right.
But sometimes when we're going through those storms, it is God, I can't pray anymore. I can't do
Said it all.
anything else. Like you've talked
yeah,
about before, where you're like, I can't pray for this anymore. Like I have prayed for years and I can't pray for about this. I need somebody else to pray
Mhm.
for it because I'm done.
Yeah. I
yep,
know I got to a point with some things, but also I think whenever you grow up in a religious atmosphere, and even whenever it's masked in spirituality, like you can kind of get in your head, well, like I didn't do this and I didn't do that and I didn't do this. And I was telling Michael even just a couple weeks ago, like whenever we were walking through something, just a changing of seasons in my life, I know I had always done my quiet time at 5:30 in the morning, and I did this, and then I did my prayer book, and then I
yep,
did my prophetic words. I would rehearse and do all that stuff, and then I moved into
same,
a
yeah,
season where it's like that schedule don't work no more. Like it just doesn't work.
yep,
I remember it was like when I finally got some like solid alone time with the Lord, I was like, "We good? Like, are we all right?" I've been doing all that, and and I just remember the Lord is so sweet. He was just like, "Sit down, just, just."
yeah,
Just be with me, and sometimes that's
hmm
how he wants you to fight through those storms, and it makes me think as you
hmm
were talking about just fighting looking differently and preparing looking differently. It reminds me of that scripture that says like hope is an anchor for the soul,
Mhm.
and I know your book has to do
hmm
with hope, but it's like when I picture
hmm
an anchor in the water, it's like those anchors are heavy and they will hurt you if they land on your toe, and it's like, but if you grab
yeah,
onto that anchor, things can be swirling around you,
Mhm.
but you're grounded,
Yeah. That's good.
hmm
Good. Well, on the
yeah.
flip side to that, how would you how did you respond to a storm that popped up just out of nowhere rather than seeing it coming?
So, my illness hit us like a wrecking ball. Like
And
it
what
was
type of
like,
illness did you struggle with?
well, it was a really rare liver disease,
Oh,
and it was autoimmune in nature. So that opens the door to more and more. So I have 7 autoimmune diseases,
oh my,
and the one was the terminal one that they said you're not going to live. I mean, just recently I went. I have a lot of what I call aftermath from being bedridden for so long, and I had such severe organ atrophy and muscle atrophy. So I had back surgery, and I get epidurals, and
mm,
so the doctor said, "Now remind me when did this start and how?" And I said, "From being in bed for 3 years." And he said, "Why?" And I said, "Well, I have primary biliary cholangitis." And he said, "And you're alive?" And I said, "Yeah." And he
I'm
said,
a
"You know
walking
you're a
miracle.
miracle, right?" I
That's
said,
awesome.
"I do. I do know that." And my doctor, I went to Germany during that too. And my doctor in Germany will comment on some of my Facebook posts and say, "There's the miracle woman. There's the miracle."
That's
So
so
That's
just
cool.
amazing. I
truly
got
a
chills. That's
miracle.
awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Yeah.
when you think about, or whenever I think about the topic of soaring above storms, I think of the scripture from Isaiah 40:31 that speaks about waiting on the Lord and how that renews your
Mhm.
strength and how you mount up on wings like eagles and soar above storms. And when I think of that scripture, when have you found yourself soaring above a storm, and how did you stay grounded in his peace during that?
Oddly enough, I found myself soaring above the storm when I couldn't soar on my own. I was so type A driven. It was when I literally couldn't do anything that I found that peace and was able to just really get that deep, deep peace, because I knew literally, experientially, that it was all him and not me, that it wasn't based on my works or my efforts. I was either going to live or die, and it wasn't up to me. And so, I mean, I had to be obedient. I did go step by step wherever he sent and whatever he said, but he said it and he sent. And so that's where I found soaring above the storm, is just staying tuned into him, not listening to all the noisy chatter from my body and doctors and people that would look at me like really fearful because they could see.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. I know that when you come into storms, it's easy to fall into different things, different temptations, different, some people may fall into substance abuse. Some people may fall into, they're drift, they kind of drift away from the Lord and all
Hmm.
deconstruct in a negative way. So people are faced with different temptations. What are some temptations that you faced when you were going through all your storms?
For the first time, I went through the deepest, darkest depression and anxiety. I had, like I said, being shut in for so long, I couldn't go to the store. I couldn't go to a convenience store by myself. I couldn't be around people. I had severe social anxiety. And I had always been like, people give me energy. I
Yeah.
get more crazy like my little puppy, the more people that
Yeah.
come around.
Yeah.
And then it was like I just wanted to be alone. I couldn't be around people. So that took me a while to work through that. And I still get a little bit of social anxiety if I'm in a big group of people, but I am light years ahead of what I was, and I'm still a work in progress.
That's
Awesome.
really, thank you for sharing that. I think so many people today struggle with depression and anxiety and social anxiety, especially students.
Yeah.
I was up at our local high school back probably 18 months ago, and I was doing some things with Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I was talking with the principal, and they were saying that there's a lot of students that have more social anxiety going into the normal classroom setting since COVID, because they were kind of put isolated doing school. Now suddenly they're back to the normal pressures of grades,
Yeah.
performing, looks, all that stuff. And it's like it just
Hmm.
kind of creeps in a new level. But we often think like kids only have that, but adults have it too. I mean,
Oh, yes.
I
Oh,
went to a
yes.
dinner party last night and I was like, am I going to know anybody? Am I going to do it? Like when I first got there, I was like, let me help you hang balloons, because I was like, I need to do something, and it's like, we do
Yep.
these things to like try to help ourselves cope. And it's like social anxiety is a real thing, and depression
It
is
is.
a real thing. And the enemy
Hmm.
loves to feast on those because he's trying to implant lies of loneliness and darkness and depression and rejection and all that stuff.
Hmm.
And that's what the enemy feast upon, of course. And so that's an easy temptation to have whenever you're in the middle of a storm, especially one that you feel like you can't fight on your own.
Yes.
That's a big deal. So what is it that you now see, like hindsight, you're like, okay, I've come through that storm, but
Hmm.
now that you look back, what was God trying to show you in the midst of that storm?
Well, I know it's a play on words. For me to say what he was trying to show me would almost seem like he had something to do with it. And I know you don't think that,
No,
but
no.
I just like I know Michael enough to know you don't.
Right. Yeah.
Um ah, sorry. Um, but I think what he did show me is what I've already shared, just that I didn't have to dig like a little puppy to get his attention or to get his healing or his favor or anything, to get his comfort and nearness.
Right.
All I had to do was nothing.
That's right.
I mean, nothing. He was just there.
Yeah.
On the days, I mean, for probably years, I didn't pray. I couldn't. The most I had was help. I could just barely say help. And
It's a great prayer.
I mean, yeah, it was,
Surrender.
apparently it was enough. Yeah.
Well, I think
So,
as
yeah,
sorry, as a dad to kids, when if my child said help, I'm
Mhm.
there.
Yeah.
And how much better of a father is God to us
right.
than we are to our own children. And so God, I mean, just as simple of saying help, all I have, all the breath that I have, help.
Mm-hmm.
He's
Yeah.
there. He's there holding you closer, tighter, and when you're in the middle of that, you're just all you just say is just help. Let me just and in your head you're thinking, I just want to feel your embrace, God. Like just hold me because I don't know what to say. I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm. I remember a one specific time when that's what I prayed. And it was just a little short period of time when Philip had to go back to the church and do something. You know, he was my full time caregiver and did all my juicing, he did everything. But I was alone and I had to go to the bathroom and I had to crawl and I could barely get there. I didn't have enough strength to walk. So crawled and to once I got there, it was like trying to climb up even to sit on the toilet. And I remember saying, help, because in that moment, the thought was, I'm literally dying. You know, it hit me. I
Mhm.
can't go to the bathroom by myself. And it was like, it had been that way, but I'd always had him there helping me. So it was the realization of, wow, this is happening. And I was just, help. And
Cool
he
though.
did. So,
It's amazing. How are some of the ways that you've seen God's faithfulness in the midst of not, I mean, I would almost say your life, because your life, you've encountered different storms, you know, I know you've encountered more than like the health is the biggest thing, but throughout your life, you've seen God's faithfulness through all the storms that you went through in your life.
yeah. Um, Number one, I think it's his faithfulness that I can even be sitting here and still say I love God
Yeah.
and I want to serve him and that he's awesome, you know, because some storms are brutal and can take a lot of people out. And I hate that because um it's not him. It's not him. So his faithfulness to me is just the fact that I'm here, that I'm thriving, that I'm happy, that I have peace and joy and truly love my life
Awesome.
That's so good.
That's
and him.
That's so awesome. I think yesterday I was reading about Job, and and Job's story is so interesting to me because you have a man who had everything, and he loved the Lord so passionately, and then agrees that okay, devil, you can do whatever you want, you just can't touch their life, and everything
Hmm.
taken away, the health, the family, the wealth, everything, like not just
That
personal,
was us.
but everything. But yet Job stayed the course, stayed the path, stayed.
Mhm.
God, in the midst of this hell I'm facing, you're still worthy. I still love you.
Yep.
Like I don't
Yep.
understand it. I don't understand it. But how wretched am I? Because I don't control the sun that rises. How
Yep.
good are you? And through the faithfulness, and who knows how many. I would like to say that was probably years and years and years of Job's life that changed.
Right.
and
Hmm.
and the end story, it always, I mean, there is a happy ending to the story, but it is something that is like, how easy could it have been for Job to say, I'm done. I feel the pressure of everybody saying turn my back on God. I don't feel like God's in this. It would have been easy for Job to say, I'm done. And so so the things that you're talking about, I'm like, I feel like that's a lot of what Job faced as I read through that yesterday.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. We definitely have said we felt like Job many times because everything was touched. Literally, the only thing that was left standing was our marriage. Our kids were like ran through the mill. Our finances were gone. I mean, everything. But our marriage was the only thing left. And of course, our relationship with God. So we definitely did compare ourselves.
You've got a good husband. I'll tell you that. He's a good man.
Yes, I do. Yes, absolutely.
Marsha,
Absolutely.
we so appreciate you sharing just a little bit about your story, and I'm excited to dig into your book, and I hope others will too. Tell us where we can follow you, where others can get your book, and hear more about what you do.
Okay. You can get the book on Amazon. It's Beautiful Pieces by Marsha Clemons. My Facebook page is Beautiful Pieces by Marsha Clemons.
Okay.
Or you can find me at just Marsha Clemons, also Facebook and Instagram.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you sharing with us, and
thank you for letting me.
And sharing, because the thing is we've had different people give testimonies on different things, and it's like health is something that like it shakes people. Like it just shakes people because you're like, this is life and death here. And there's no one that has not been touched by a health issue, whether it be their mom or their sibling or their aunt or themselves personally. We've all been touched by health issues. And so I'm thankful whenever people are willing to speak about it, because whenever you look life and death in the eye and you have to walk through it, and I mean, and being able to speak life over yourself and not believe always what the doctor's report is, that's a big deal. You know, I mean, we kind of laugh because there's been a couple times, even during my pregnancy, where we kick people out of the hospital room. We're like, you get to speak over this baby, you know, and so we need more people that are willing to speak about that and talk about the hope that can be found even in the midst of those scenarios and circumstances. So thank you for sharing. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, I had a hard time sharing the not so pretty parts at first. And then the Lord was like, people are saved by the blood of the Lamb and the word of your testimony. How do you have a testimony if you don't share the test?
Yep.
You know, there's no way they can know.
Say it again.
So
I like that. That's awesome. Well, thank you. Guys, we will continue our podcast. We have a few more episodes this season, and we are so thankful for you tuning in. And we will see you next week.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.